Good evening, everybody. I know it's a little bit of a weird angle on this video today, but this way I don't have to hold the phone, and hopefully the video will be a little bit less shaky because of that. But this video is going to be a work update for everybody who has been curious as to whether or not I'm going to get my long trip to Sweden before I heavily consider, well, not just consider, but actively try to take a second job. I have had a ton of new subscribers to the channel lately, which I am super grateful for. Welcome, everybody. And just to catch people up who are new here. So, first of all, I am a healthcare worker. I do ultrasound for a living. I work in an emergency department. I work third shift. And I have been with my current company for almost 8 years now. And during this time with my company, one great thing about them, actually two good things about them, let me say, is that one, we don't have any on-call hours for any of our ultrasound staff. And being on call is not something that is really liked in the healthcare community. Being on call means that, for me, for instance, if for third shift there was nobody on staff at a particular facility and that facility needed an ultrasound urgently, somebody would be on call, and that person would get a call in the middle of the night to come into work to do the scan, and then they could go back home, but they're also expected to show up at work the next day, regardless of how much sleep they have gotten or not. So my company has no facilities where any on-call hours are required. So that's one thing that they have always done right, in my opinion. The other thing they had always done correctly, in my opinion, was I have never gotten any pushback anytime I have requested vacation, paid time off. They have always been quite accommodating, despite the current healthcare situation overall in the U.S. of healthcare workers being in demand. There's an extreme shortage. It doesn't matter what you do in healthcare, you're in demand right now. And my facility has been no different. We have been desperate for ultrasound staff to the point where we have had travelers now for years. We have had a mass exodus of staff when COVID first started, and we're still struggling and limping along to this day, basically. But yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. But despite being short-staffed, my company has never declined PTO for me. They've always given me the amount of PTO that I want to take off at a time. And that part for me is key, because for me in my situation, if you're new to the channel, my husband is Swedish. He still lives in Sweden, and we thought that he would be able to immigrate to the U.S. and live with me here until I got to financial independence and retired early, which is the whole point of this channel, documenting my story to get there. So we thought that he was going to be able to just easily immigrate over here. It wouldn't be that big of a deal, and we would live together here until I got to fire, and then we would retire together in Sweden. Well, for many reasons related to the laws and tax situation between both countries, that is not the best choice for us. He could still immigrate here, but if we did that, the best thing for us would be to just stay here in the U.S., and we really don't want to do that. We would rather be in Sweden for our long-term life together. So, since he's not able to immigrate here, I had always taken 3 weeks off from work at a time. So that would give me plenty of time to travel over to Sweden, spend some time together over there, and then typically he would fly back over here with me when my vacation was over and spend a month over here. So we would have a good chunk of time together, and then he would go back home and we would repeat this process every few months or so until recently. So in recent years, with the amount of staffing issues that we have had at my facility with my company, we had just a bunch of people quit and move on to, sorry, the cat is jumping around and that's shaking the camera. But anyhow, we had a bunch of people leave from the ultrasound department, including our lead ultrasound technologist. So for about a year or so there, we were limping along without even a lead for the department for ultrasound. And honestly, like, the radiology management has also been in turmoil. We've had some turnover there. We lost our manager over the ultrasound department and the manager over the entire radiology department. Initially, that person had been fired. We got into dire straits. They brought her back, ended up firing her again. I don't know the reasons why, but this is just like everything that is happening at my facility, to give you some context here for the story later. But anyhow, they ended up firing her again, and the other manager we had over the ultrasound department quit. And since then, we have had an interim manager over the ultrasound department that they brought on from within the company that I work for. Now, she does not do ultrasound and never has done ultrasound, but she's, got a long history of imaging in healthcare. And anyhow, they brought her on basically because she was willing to try to help out our department. And they brought her on because she was willing. And they brought in also an interim manager over the entire radiology department. So since they brought on these two new managers, this is when I have first started getting some pushback about vacation time for me. Again, my entire almost 8 years that I've been with this company, I've always taken 3 weeks at a time. And despite being short-staffed during my stint with my company, they've never said, hey, we really aren't supposed to allow you to take more than 2 weeks at a time without it being a leave of absence. We're short-staffed. Could you consider taking less time? I have never gotten any of that, any pushback at all. But here recently, I put in a request for more than 2 weeks, and I got the first pushback that I have ever had. So according to him, he said that there is some policy with my company that anything over 2 weeks of vacation is automatically considered a leave of absence. I asked him to show me that policy, never got any response on that. But he says it exists, so okay, we'll go with that. And furthermore, if I want to take more than 2 weeks at a time, since it is a leave of absence, that is unprotected time, and I am not guaranteed reemployment when I return to work. So, I was like, okay, that's news to me. Never had to fill out a leave of absence request before when I would take vacation, and I've never even heard of this before, nor have I ever had anybody say, hey, you really aren't supposed to take more than 2 weeks at a time. So, that's where we're at with the work situation. I got some major pushback when I tried to get some vacation this time. And, it is what it is. All right, fine. Let's just assume that this policy out there about leave of absence exists somewhere. When I got that initial pushback from the radiology manager, he did put in the email also that, they could consider giving me more than 2 weeks at a time if I was able to work with the team and find coverage for my shift, etc., etc. I honestly believe that they put that line in there because they assumed that I would not be able to find coverage for my own shift because I'm a third shifter, and that's not really desirable for most people. So, yeah, I think he threw those lines in there just assuming that I would not be able to find coverage for myself, but I did. we have a traveler with us right now who likes the facility, and she is open to extending her contract just specifically for me to cover my shift. And she offered to work for 3 full weeks so I could have some extra time and they could work that out with her, and then I could have my time off that I have earned from working all the years that I have with my company. So I responded to the email and said, hey, I have found coverage for myself. Is this okay for me to now take 3 weeks of vacation? And that is where I left off with my work updates previously for everybody. So, update there is that I cannot take 3 weeks off still. Well, I can if I want to do the whole leave of absence request form and not be guaranteed reemployment when I come back. So even though I found my own coverage for my vacation time, they still did not want to approve it. I can't say I'm surprised. I thought that they might try to pull this because she is a traveler. Travelers earn more money than permanent staff. So I kind of thought that they may try to say, well, we don't really have that in the budget, despite us having multiple travelers for years now at this point. Apparently now, having a traveler for an extra 3 weeks is just out of the budget. Can't afford it. So, my 3 weeks were denied. That is the update. However, they did give me the 2 weeks off. So, I have 2 weeks, and like I mentioned in my previous videos, it does not feel like enough time to really travel over to Sweden and have any significant time together over there. It's a long flight to get over there. There's always one connecting flight because I live in the Charlotte area and there's no direct flights to Stockholm from Charlotte. But yeah, it takes about 15, 16 hours or so to fly over to Sweden from here. And I'm on 3rd shift, so it makes it even harder to get on a day shift schedule plus the time change difference. And then, I need to leave enough time to be able to fly back and get kind of back on a night shift schedule before I go back to work. So yeah, 2 weeks is not a lot of time. But that's all they're going to give me, and so that's what I'm going to take. I will do my best to just make the best of a bad situation, and what my husband and I are thinking about doing is just renting a little cabin out in the middle of nowhere and enjoying some time in nature. And yeah, we'll do that for a few days and spend the rest of the time just together at his place over in Sweden. And then when my time is up, I will come back over here and get back to work. And work is likely going to be 2 full-time jobs for me when I come back. And also, just to say, since Christopher is already FIRE, he is financially independent, retired early. He's going to fly over here soon and spend some time with me here for a month before I get my time off and we fly over there. So that's kind of how we make the best of a bad situation. And so he'll be flying over here soon. At least we can finally get to see each other for some time. And as of right now, when I'm filming this video towards the end of April, I do not officially have a second job yet, but I feel like the likelihood is very strong that I will when I come back from Sweden. So, work update as far as the second job goes. When we left off in my previous videos, I said that I had applied for a second full-time job that was pretty close by for me. It's actually a little bit closer than my current job. As far as that goes officially, when I log into the website to check my application status, it still says that it is just under review. But I personally know the lead ultrasound technologist at that facility, and she's been like following up with me through like text messages and things on my phone, like asking, have you applied? What does the status say? And all of that stuff. There was some issues with my application and just the listing for the job in general. So it's been a little bit tricky to actually get the interview set up. But anyhow, my application says in review right now. I am expecting that they will accept my application and set up an interview with me probably next week, and that is fine by me. I mean, honestly, I'm not disappointed that it's taking a little bit to get things going as far as that second job goes, because honestly, I have not told the lead technologist that I need all of this time off because I'm already planning this trip to Sweden. So I'm sure that will come up in the interview, but honestly, it's better to have all of the vacation sorted out beforehand. When I am in the interview, I can say, hey, I already have this trip planned. I'm happy to come work for you, but y'all have to allow me to have this time off. And then I don't know if they will want me to start beforehand, before I go to Sweden, or if they'll wait to have me start until I come back from Sweden. So I'm filming this right at the end of April. I'm gonna do my April budget review after this video. But I'm filming this towards the end of April. My vacation that has been approved is the first 2 weeks in June. So, you know, they may do the interview next week, let's say, offer me a position, and let's hypothetically say that I accept. They also don't know that I am planning on keeping the job that I have and doing this other full-time job as a second job. So all of the training for me to get onboarded with the new hospital system, the new facility, is going to have to happen around my other work schedule, which, you know, as desperate as people are for ultrasound around here, I think they'll be fine working with me on that. But given that I do have a full-time job already and I'm third shift, that pretty much just leaves Mondays or Fridays where I could do some onboarding with this other hospital system. So if I interview next week, that's going to be the 1st of May, and accept a position, you know, maybe they could get the onboarding and some training done before I actually leave for my trip to Sweden at the 1st of June. And then when I come back, I could just go full throttle into both jobs. So I expect that's probably what's going to happen, but, you know, we'll see. You know, maybe the interview doesn't work out for whatever reason. I think I mentioned before that I didn't want to take a second job if it was going to be less money than what I make right now. But honestly, with the way things are going with my current job, I might consider it, even if it's not quite as much money as I make right now. Of course, I will advocate for myself and push for as much as I can get, basically. But if it's not quite as much, it might not be the end of the world. It just depends how that facility is. I like where I work right now, despite the management issues going on. So that's why I stick it out. And I do make good money for what I do where I am. But if this new place is just as nice as where I work now, but it's a little bit less money, but say it's also a little bit better as far as the management goes, which I suspect it might be, just because like I said, I know the lead ultrasound technologist over this department, and she's been over the department for over a decade now. So, you know, they have people in place. My place is completely in turmoil and has been for years. So it's a little chaotic where I work. Anyhow, you know, I'm just going to see how the new facility is. Maybe it's great. And maybe I like it better, and even if the pay is just a little bit less, it might be okay. Maybe they'll be a little more lenient with their PTO policies. Who knows? And in the long term here, the real reason I am considering taking this second job is multifaceted here. First of all, having a second job now that I am debt-free is going to mean that I can invest so much more money than I have been ever before. Also, the market seems to be struggling again a little bit recently, so honestly, that would work out in my favor. If we have a little bit of a pullback this summer into the fall, that's a good thing for me if I have 2 full-time incomes coming in and I am investing most of that. So that's fine. Let the market fall, in my opinion. So yeah, just having the extra money coming in available to invest is one big reason I'm doing this. The other huge reason I am doing this is because of the situation between me and my husband. Now, I don't expect that the new system is going to really allow me to take more than 2 weeks of vacation at a time either, especially as a new employee. I wouldn't be surprised if they had some kind of policy that was similar to where I work right now. But the main thing I am hoping for is the system I work for right now has a new hospital that is opening at the end of the year, allegedly. It's been pushed back several times, but they say the end of this year, that facility is going to be open. I have proposed several different schedule options to have where I work, the facility I work, and this new facility they're opening. I have proposed several different schedule ideas that I really want, and it will allow my current hospital system to get the new hospital and the facility where I work completely staffed on third shift without having to hire a bunch of people. Yes, they'll need to hire some new people, obviously, but I've come up with some really good schedule ideas that I think will be accommodative to, the hospital system trying to get shifts covered with as few people as possible. That's the way it goes in healthcare, y'all. If you're in healthcare, you know. So I've come up with these ideas, and the idea that I have is a rotating schedule. And what that means is I would have either a 6 nights on, 6 12-hour shifts in a row, followed by 8 nights off, rotating. That's what I'm really pushing for. Or I would have like a 7.5 nights on and then 7.5 nights off. There's one shift that might be split if they go for that route, and I'd be okay with that too, but I prefer the 6 on 8 off deal. And honestly, if they end up doing that, this is the main reason I keep hanging on where I am, because I'm sure y'all have picked up by now that where I am at is definitely a dumpster fire right now as far as the management of it goes. Anyhow, either shift, if they went with a rotating schedule, I would be okay with. I prefer the 6 on 8 off, but the 7 on 7 off would be fine too. And the thing about having that rotating schedule is I can request my 6 nights off or my 7 nights off and end up having 3 weeks off at least because of the way that rotating schedule works. So this is a way for me to still have a good amount of travel time to go to Sweden and come back and work without having to request off more than 2 weeks at a time. So, in that situation, everybody is happy, but there are issues with the new facility that's opening. The old radiology manager that got fired apparently just forgot to budget for third shift ultrasound at the new facility when they were coming up with proposals for what it would cost to get this facility up and running. I don't know how you forget about third shift, but apparently she did. So she didn't budget for that. So the proposal, did not include third shift coverage. And so now they don't have it in the budget. So I'm afraid what that means is that because this is going to be a brand new hospital in the Charlotte area, I know for a fact It's going to be busy. They're going to need ultrasound on third shift, so they have to cover it somehow. If they don't have it in the budget, to just hire staff and keep the facility staffed on third shift, the only other option is on call. And that's the only other thing that I felt like my facility had right for the last almost 8 years that I've been here, is that none of us had to do on-call hours. So if they want to do on-call for this new facility, I don't know how they might try to enforce that. But if they try to enforce it and make me a part of a call rotation somehow, I can just absolutely be like, nope, not doing it. Y'all can fire me if you want. I refuse. Absolutely not. If I have a second job already as backup, that would be a really good position to be in. So, regardless of what happens with this new facility opening, if I am forced to take call somehow, I can absolutely refuse if I already have another job. Or if they open up the new facility, they fix the third shift budgeting issue, and they decide to take me up on my staffing ideas and give me my ideal schedule that I would really love with the situation between me and my husband, then I can accept the new rotating schedule when the new hospital opens, and I can just tell the second job, hey, you know, I've helped you out for these last however many months, but I'm getting my dream schedule now, so now I have to quit. Sorry. You know, I mean, honestly, either situation, it's good for me to have that second job as a backup. So that's why I'm really going to push for getting this second job. I just hope that they will at least match the pay that I get right now, and hopefully it will be more. I feel like it should be more, because the job I'm working right now is third shift, yes, but it's during the week. And if you work a weekend third shift position, you're supposed to get third shift plus a weekend shift differential. So ideally, I should be making more money at this second job. But the second job is a more rural setting. And here in North Carolina, with the way the ultrasound career is, if you work more rurally, those hospitals do not pay as well. So, you know, we'll see what happens. But at this point, I don't even have an interview set up yet. It just says my application is still under consideration. So I expect to, at least next week, get an acceptance and set up an interview. Hopefully it will be next week as well. But if the interview is not, and it's the week after, it's fine, because, you know, I have this trip coming up anyway. So if we drag it out a little bit and I just start when I come back from the trip from Sweden, really that would be ideal. So either way is fine. If they want me to start training before I go to Sweden, that's okay too. It just has to work around my current schedule. So that's where we're at with the very long-winded work update. But I mean, right now my work is my life. So, I mean, when it comes to just how things are going in general with my life, this is very much wrapped up in it. And I know I mentioned it so many times in my Fire Journey So Far video that I know a lot of you were really rooting for me to get that 3 weeks off. And I thought that it was going to happen because, you know, they told me, well, you know, we might consider it if you can find coverage. And then I found coverage, and then they, you know, backpedaled on that real quick. So it is what it is. I can't say I'm surprised. And honestly, it is just more motivation for me to take this second job, to get to Fire as soon as possible, because I am so over this type of situation, period. I am tired of having to ask for permission to spend time with my family. I'm just ready to be free, you guys. And The rage is going to provide me with the energy that I need to work 72 hours a week. So there you have it. That's the work update. I wish it was better news, but things are still looking up despite the fact I did not get the 3 weeks off. I think that the second job is likely to work out, and I mean, as always, I will keep you guys updated with that, but let me go ahead and film the April budget review for you guys. So yeah, I'll get this one uploaded, and I will see you for the April budget review next. Thanks for watching if you've made it all the way to the end of this other long video. And I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.